City volunteers renovate dilapidated house for a stroke patient. City works with Zhejiang Shengzhou government to care for left-behind children. Welcome to Diet Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. In Yunlin County, Taiwan, there's a Tzu Chi recipient, Mr. Chen, who has mobility issues due to a stroke. His Vietnamese wife has to go out to work to support the family. The family cannot afford to repair the dilapidated house, so it leaks whenever it rains. Fortunately, city volunteers have come to help the family renovate their house. Volunteers have set up scaffolding to climb onto the rooftop and disassemble the rooftop tiles. Inside the house, volunteers also take apart the old ceiling. The house owner, Mr. Chen, has suffered a stroke. His Vietnamese wife is working to support the family. This 50-some-year-old house leaks when it rains, and city volunteers have come to help out.
The door has cracked open and it leaks. There are big and small buckets and basins of different sizes to hold the water.
During renovation, it rained in the afternoon.
Everyone became soaked with rainwater. We still cover the rooftop with a canvas. We did not just leave it because it rained.
Volunteers laid new rooftop tiles, and they also renovated the inside of the house, including installing new restroom equipment.
We appreciate Tzu Chi brothers and sisters for coming to our house to help out. We are very grateful.
Our resources are limited, so we really appreciate your help. You have worked hard.
Volunteers put on spring couplets and sang for the family. The Chen family also vowed that in the future, they'll pass love forward and help other less fortunate people. Tzu Chi's recycling mission is also carried out in the Philippines, but since the pandemic hit, this activity has stopped for a few months. Most recently, the recycling mission started once again. Upon visiting their old friends to collect recyclables, the volunteers found recycling has become a daily habit for them.
Due to the spread of COVID-19, Ormoc City volunteers have not hosted their monthly recycling day for 4 months. Thankfully, they were able to host them once more beginning in August.
We are thankful for Tzu Chi volunteers, as they are here to pick up these plastic bottles, because if they didn't, we wouldn't have anywhere to put them, and they are beginning to smell.
The months of accumulation means the amount of recyclables are more than normal. Thus, the volunteers had a small truck to help load everything. As soon as the truck arrives at the Da'ai village, recycling volunteers get to work.
I'm older, so I can't do a lot of things, but I'm glad for this opportunity to be sorting recyclables. It has been 4 months since we last did this, so I'm happy I can return to my volunteer post.
As the pandemic is still aggressive in the country, safety measures are taken, such as masks and gloves. But more importantly is following the recycling ideals.
I've donated some of my children's old toys because the volunteers continue to promote reducing waste and extending the life of items. So if the toys are still usable, I can donate it for other children to play with.
We are happy that we have started the recycling program once more, beginning August 1st. We are promoting recycling at the Da'ai village, hoping more of the residents join us to safeguard the planet and keep it clean.
Tzu Chis join in on the recycling program, as they too know the importance of keeping the planet clean and beautiful for all to enjoy.
The Dalian City Hospital has been well known overseas for its 20 years of medical treatment. The hospital's International Medical Center was approved by the Ministry of Health and Welfare to accept and treat international patients. Today, we'll take you to learn more about medical care without borders.
Su Bingtai sought medical treatment from Malaysia, crossing the sea to have a huge 6-centimeter tumor removed from the middle of his brain. It was an extremely risky and difficult operation. Fortunately, under the guidance of Deputy Superintendent Chen Jincheng, the brain tumor was successfully removed and he gradually recovered.
In fact, from searching in the available literature and research, these diseases are all treatable. We just had to evaluate whether we had the confidence to help him. That is to say, when given the opportunity, we should try to help as much as possible. We not only affect one patient, but actually the whole family.
The highlight of Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital's medical treatment is immunology, allergy, and rheumatism, a center that treated some 40,000 patients, even those patients with life-threatening sores and serious dermatitis problems.
Dalian Tzu Chi's Immunology, Allergy, and Rheumatism Center focuses on these areas with immunological diseases not related to organs to achieve remarkable results. Now it has become a center of treatment for Taiwan and even the world.
Superintendent Lai Ningsun has dedicated 20 years at Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital. He's also committed to expanding the Southern District Medical Network. This ideal was finally realized in mid-June 2020.
Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital is the major trauma hospital. And second, we have our district hospital, Dolia Hospital. And then the current Jiayi Clinic offers basic level medical care. Such a complete medical network is rarely seen in Taiwan's medical system.
To improve the medical system, cooperation with primary medical units are needed. There are several doctors in rural health clinics in Jiayi County, all of whom come from the Family Medicine Department of Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital. They open branches and create deep roots.
Most are students who graduated from Tzu Chi University and then came to Dalian for training. They are willing to dedicate their abilities in this space and take good care of patients in the community. Of course, we will be their support system.
In our cooperation with Tzu Chi Hospital, in addition to referrals, if we have some cases here which we have no way to treat or we don't have the equipment for it, we'll refer them to the hospital. In addition to the referrals, there are online consultations and phone calls, or we send photos and ask for medical assistance. In addition to the outpatient clinic, we also extend care to the home. We also cooperate with the long-term care and we are close in contact.
In order to provide comprehensive long-term care services, Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital has established a long-term care management center. There are 11 special residential service areas in Yunlin Jiayi area. The nursing department has complete training courses covering all aspects of health care.
You have to have physical strength, mental power, and a humanistic spirit. You have to know how to care for others, and you have to know how to understand the needs of the elders. It is the same as clinical nursing work. It's very hard.
Hard work becomes a habit, and then after getting used to it, it won't seem so hard. I feel like we will all get old too, so I gain some insight into aging.
Perfect medical care requires everyone's dedication. Even in the forgotten corners of the rural areas, the sunshine of love must be spilled.
Dapu Township is a rural mountainous area in Jiayi. Transportation to the area is difficult. If local residents encounter medical problems, there were no doctors to treat them. Since 2002, Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital has established a Dapu medical station.
I haven't been to Dapu before. I've never seen this. It's very scary.
Scars can be seen on the thighs. These are traces of being bitten by a wild boar. Dapu Township is located in a remote mountainous area in Jiayi. Therefore, most of the people who come to the medical station for treatment have external injuries. It's hard for her to raise her hand as Inshu suffers from cerebral palsy since she was a child. She kept coming for acupuncture and moxibustion. As TCM physician Ye Mingxian went to Dapu every Wednesday to treat the villagers without stop. For 17 years, for them, it was the most intimate care.
Every time there is typhoon or bad weather, villagers will worry about Dr. Ye Mingxian. I pray that he can come and see us safely and take care of the illness of our elderly.
There are more than 1,000 people here, and if we didn't have our Dapu medical station, they would have to travel elsewhere for medical care. I'm very grateful to the villagers in Dapu. They silently bless my journey, and I will also work hard to help everyone be healthy and live normally.
The medical community and patients have developed a strong friendship like family members, drawing upon each other deeply. The 24-hour Dapu medical station guards the life and health of everyone in this remote community.
Jakarta of Indonesia is considered high on the danger zone for COVID-19. Despite a red alert, there are still communities in Jakarta which have 0 confirmed cases. That is the situation in Kampung Merdeka, where 770 households have kept to strict social distancing and other epidemic prevention measures.
The 5th Street community in Jakarta's western district of Kampung Merdeka is still reporting 0 confirmed cases of COVID-19, despite the nearby 1st Street community being a red zone for COVID. For the 5th Street's effort, the government has praised them for doing such a good job. The residents of this community have a strong practice on prevention methods. They wear masks when going out and don't go to crowded places. They wash hands frequently and have strict rules about people and vehicles entering their community.
Ya, kami sebagai RT dan warga juga merasa bangga ya karena kami di.
We are very happy to have kept the virus away from our community and are at 0 confirmed cases here. We carry out the government's prevention methods to this T.
Pemerintah gitu ya dirumahkan saja.
We stay at home and avoid going to crowded places. Everyone is keeping to the rules.
Banyak orang yang melarang aturan tidak.
Since the pandemic hit the area, this block of residents has a team of people in charge of carrying out the prevention methods. They guard the entrance and exit of the street, and team members are formed out of local street leaders, community residents, and other young volunteers.
Karena start awalnya kita dari bulan Maret sampai saat ini
From March until now, we have tried very hard to keep the virus at bay, including disinfection, frequent hand washing, wearing masks, and measuring body temperatures. We haven't stopped doing what we can. We've also received the government's praise on being a 0-case community. It is such a validation of our hard work.
Alhamdulillah, kita menjadi pencanangan Kampung Merdeka COVID-19 ini.
Currently, there are still 15 street blocks that are in the red danger zone for the pandemic in Jakarta's western district. Thus, the government is still asking residents to reduce their outside activity and keep practicing safety measures.
Days of heavy rains in South Korea led to the worst flood in 9 years. City volunteers cared about solitary seniors living in the mountainous areas. They went there with daily necessities and food.
The weather in Seoul is sometimes sunny and rainy, while the streets there are still busy. Unlike the capital, as Tzu Chi volunteers drive all the way south, the rain is getting stronger and more disasters are seen. The continuous torrential rains have caused shocking disasters. Tzu Chi volunteers are concerned about the solitary elderly living in the mountainous areas, so they bring some daily necessities and nutritional supplements to visit the elderly.
We're now going to care for solitary elderly. The place we're passing by is the city of Hwaseong. When we will go through a tunnel in a moment, after that it will become a mountainous area where the solitary elderly live.
Passing through the winding muddy road is Grandpa Im Song-kyu house, which is located at the foot of the mountain. They hug each other once they meet.
These are for you to eat. Here are several packs of instant noodles, which are enough for you to eat for a while.
Frontier Park follows Grandpa Im Song-kyu to walk around his vegetable field and found that everything is fine without any damage. To the volunteers, it is the greatest satisfaction to see Grandpa Im's happy smile after the heavy rain.
In China, many provinces have suffered severe flooding. In Jiangxi province, tens of thousands of people lost their homes and were displaced. City volunteers went to this area in mid-July to conduct disaster investigation and distribute warmth. Recently, they paid a return visit.
These fields appear to be like a vast ocean with no end in sight, but actually many people's homes have been covered by the floods.
Our whole township in Poyang County is the worst hit township. Within 23 square kilometers, all 15 villages were flooded.
After the floods raged, Tzu Chi volunteers went to the hardest-hit area in Jiangxi in mid-July to investigate the disaster and send warmth and compassion. More than a week later, Tzu Chi volunteers still cared about the people affected by the flood disaster. So they once again visited the area and found that everyone was still living in shelters.
When can I go home? I want to go home, but there is still water there and I can't go home yet. Most of my house is flooded and the water won't return. We don't know what to do, so we have to live in the shelter.
Tzu Chi volunteers went to the shelter with Shengzhou picture book for children to contemplate. Almost no adults were present as volunteers taught them sign language songs which warmed everyone's heart. Volunteers who have become acquainted with these children become more involved as loving mothers who tell stories, hoping that their little hearts will not be afraid of natural disasters but become even more full of love.
There are rural children in China whose parents are either divorced or both working away from their hometown, and the children need to be raised by their grandparents. The lack of parental care leads them to be called left behind children. Tzu Chi cooperated with Zhejiang Shengzhou Civil Affairs Bureau to start a care plan for these children.
On this balcony on the second floor, this child greets volunteers happily. His parents are divorced. Family supported by his grandfather. However, this child, Zhu Yihao, does not feel inferior but rather proud.
The silver medal is mine, and the bronze medal is my sister's. Yes, we are both in good health.
Zhu Xintong's parents are divorced and work elsewhere separately. The 11-year-old is strong and brave and depends on her grandmother. These children are growing up without the company of their parents. Tzu Chi and Shengzhou Civil Affairs Bureau jointly launched a caring project to enter these families' lives and give them warmth.
I saw some of the Tzu Chi data files, especially some of the files accumulated during their visits. I saw that they're looking after these children for a long time, and I think this is a job that I really want to do.
Volunteers and government agencies make up for the lack of parental love with long-term companionship, become a safe haven for these left-behind children.
Mr. Gao, who lives in Gufeng Village, Hualien County, suffered a stroke 3 months ago. This made it difficult for him to take care of himself. His house is full of flies, mosquitoes, cockroaches, and spiders. His house was so filled with rubbish that you could not even see the ground. Chen Yanbi, the superintendent of Yunlin Tzu Chi Hospital, led a group of volunteers to clean his home.
Every shovel contains garbage and recyclables. There's no place to stand in the house.
There is a lot of garbage, including food waste and recyclables. There is absolutely no place to walk or rest or sleep.
The first problem about how to get in is a headache. When we got inside, there was a group of roaches and spiders.
Even though they are out of bags and everyone's clothes are soaked with sweat, the thinking is that this was the patient's home and they could not stop working. This is the home of 65-year-old Mr. Gao. After a stroke 3 months ago, he was unable to take care of himself and the living environment became messy. The medical team of Yunlin Tzu Chi Hospital and volunteers could not bear him living in such an environment. Many people came together to clean for him.
We made it very clean within 3 hours, so I'm very grateful to our team. Local brothers and sisters and all my colleagues who come to participate today, I'm very grateful.
After cleaning the house, he was able to finally see a clean floor. Volunteers also gave a bed and some simple furniture to him. They also pledged to visit him regularly in the future to continue caring about his health and living conditions.
During summer, Tzu Chi Foundation initiated an eco-friendly camp attended by 85 participants. Volunteers designed a variety of classes, teaching children the proper ideals while developing their artistic skills.
This course challenges teamwork and the focus levels of each child. During summer, Tzu Chi volunteers based in Keelung held an eco-friendly camp. The courses allow children to DIY toys while learning proper eco-friendly ideals.
Vegetarianism won't harm the earth.
It helps with our body and also prevents animals from being killed.
From the Jingsi tea ceremony to the harmonic guzheng performance, the variety of classes allow parents and children to learn more while studying together.
I never thought that children could feel so achieved through these methods. When they complete a task or an item, they run to me firsthand to show off their work.
There's positive energy here along with positive thinking, and the children are absorbing it. Compared to going outside and being affected by negative things, I think this camp helps children grow better.
Education turns lives around. This is also what Master Zheng Yan wants. It's the source of a peaceful society. Through these activities, we could change a person. This is why staying with them is important.
The two-day camp helps with developing artistic traits along with training a positive mindset, allowing children to have a fulfilling and meaningful summer.
Gao Weijie, a 28-year-old young man, is returning home to Tainan Xibing to start his own business. He combined local cultures and promoted oyster shell crafts and environmental protection to bring vitality to his hometown.
Under the scorching sun in Tainan, a group of young people walked along the roadside to pick up discarded oyster shells and plastic strips used to tie the oyster shells.
Fish or birds may accidentally eat plastic strips. We're in the process of picking it up, collected together.
There's more over there. The whole way we find abandoned oyster shells.
Small hills of oyster shells are a common sight in Tainan's west coast. After seeing this, a group of young people returning home thought about how to reuse the waste.
This row of trees was planted in this recreational agricultural area. Under this tree, they placed a number of oyster shells.
In addition to planting trees, Zhang Weijie's entrepreneurial direction is to develop more crafts with oyster shells.
We wanted to think about how we could play with these shells or use them in a cultural or creative way. Rather than using them for potted plants, we can turn them into a nightlight, or if the shell is intact, you can put them together.
Finding good use of the oyster shells is part of an environmental puzzle. Weijie also demonstrates an attitude of environmental protection and cherishing resources in the use of discarded rubber rafts and rebuilding the community.
There are some grass and trees, whose growth will be hindered by cement. We use this permeable brick to restore the landscape.
Creating new products and doing some difficult work, they have all done a good job.
Loving their hometown with action, the youth are returning to the homes, bringing with them environmental protection along with creativity to infuse these communities with new vitality.
Today, volunteers went to Diamond Bar, Los Angeles to distribute food to families affected by the epidemic. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.